Now let's talk about model security. How can you protect our database and our users' data? So let's open up terminal and start our server. So here, if I do a request to my users, I forgot, I deleted the one before. So let's do a quick user over here. Suppose. There we go. Now if I do a request to my users, so it's not getting saved, and the reason is because I'm trying to send creating the user on my sign up. And if you saw before, we were doing it the endpoint in the users. So let's change that, because sign up is the good endpoint to create users. If you check out our route, we are using here sign up, you're passing this information. So we need to delete this. And instead of using this, you're going to use the user controller dot create user. Just see, it got imported in here. So we import the user controller and then use over here for the sign up. And then on our user, we can actually delete that route that is posting over here. So we don't need it anymore. So now if you save it and run this code again, that will save and actually save to the database. Now we're getting all this information here. This, some word stuff, we're getting the user ID, the created at, updated at, and also the password. And the password is in plain text. That's really horrible way of dealing with passwords. But first, let's talk about this other stuff that is coming with the response. We don't need this. The user doesn't need to get this information. This is for our own use inside the application. So let's hide this information. And remember, I told you that we should always try to keep the logic of our application inside our models, like keep the models fat and the controller is skinny. So in our controllers, we have all the information to get the profiles and to respond, which that's exactly what it should be doing. It just do a simple call to the database and retrieve the information it's required. Then answer with some kind of response or an error. So our controllers are good to go, but our models, we need to work out on how the data is being sent back, and also we need to tackle this password hashing. So here, after we create the user schema, we can start to create some methods and attach to that schema. So let's go and create, here we're gonna create something that is, we're gonna choose user data to send back to client. So here we're going to use the user schema, and we're gonna call methods. This comes from the Mongoose, and there's a method called toJSON, and this takes a function. So here you need to make sure you don't use the arrow function, because you need to use the this. So we're gonna create let user object equals to this dot to object. Here we'll return that object we want. We're gonna use the pick method from Nodejs. So we're gonna import pick from Nodejs pick. And here you can use pick, and you're gonna remember it's where to pick from and what to pick. So we're gonna pick from the object, and here we're gonna pass the information we want to send it back. So ID, email, username, and URL. So how this function works? First, we're calling the method to.json. This, you're gonna take our database and I'm gonna convert it to JSON, and you're gonna save it inside an object, the user object. From there, just use the syntax to pick the information we want. So if you save it and you try it out, here we're getting all this information back. Now we only want these ones. So if you do the same, I'm gonna clear the terminal, and if you do the same request, you see now it's returning only the other information. Let's see it again. If I comment it out and I save it, if I do the same request, it's returning all this other data over here. So now we are hiding all this extra information that we don't need. So I'm just gonna save it again as is. And now it is hiding the password, but our password is still saved as plain text. So we need to fix that. We're gonna do that in the next lesson.